what do you think's gonna be? Yes, alternation generations. If you still don't know that, get to writing it. Do it all the time. I taught y'all like this. Y'all know I'm notorious for putting it sideways, right? Or up and down, or vertical. If you don't like it, turn your paper, right? Just write on it, and then go and write the correct answers where they belong. Do you think there's going to be a word bank? Nay, nay. Y'all should know this by now, right? So absolutely not. Do what?
I would say it depends on what you're wanting us to put down.
I want you to get this because I'm teaching more upper level botany courses, and if you don't know this, I'm screwed. So I want y'all to know this.
That's what I'm not worried about.
This hopefully by now, I have ingrained this in y'all so much that y'all are just like seeing this in your dreams, right? Hopefully. Y'all know this, right? I don't have to do this. Y'all already know this?
Oh, yeah.
Sure you do. My favorite one, and I never take off, but y'all crack me up when you do this. You call this sperm and you call this egg. And it's every semester, every time I teach this, there's probably about 10 people every single time that will flip this around. And I don't care as long as you know they're gametes. But typically there's one egg and there's a lot of sperm, right? That's why there's numbers are like that. But I don't care as long as you know that these are the gametes. And so who do they come from?
The communified generation.
Communified generation. How do they unite? What do they make? And then what? So the the zygote grows into, right? And that's what that cycle is. So what does the sporophyte generation have to undergo?
Meiosis.
Not mitosis, right? Meiosis. And as it undergoes meiosis, what does it create?
Spores.
Which land somewhere and grow into the, which makes the gametes, and we continue on and on and on. Gametes, sperm and egg, whatever you want to call them. We don't ever write it, but just again, so that y'all understand, anytime things grow, what's the process? That's mitosis, right? That's anything. How do you grow? Mitosis, right? You have to have those cells dividing. So you know it's going to be on there. There's not going to be a word bank. I love you, but my goodness gracious, you should know this by now. All right, some things to know. So when it comes to terrestrial plants, what are the things they had to develop to be able to get on the land? There's two big things they had to develop. Roots and a vascular system or vascular tissue. And what's the other thing?
Support.
That'd be support.
Ability to store water.
Ability to store water, so your vascular, your xylem, your phloem, or xylem really. And then what do they have to develop on the, well, it's not on the underside. It's on the underside of most leaves. Sometimes it's on the top surface. But how do they?
Stomata.
The stomata, right? That's how they quote unquote breathe. You know, they don't breathe, but that's what we had to develop in order to be on the land. All right. Who was responsible for the binomial nomenclature that we use today, our system that we use for naming everything, all the things? Carolus Linnaeus. What's his born name? Carl von Linné. But yes, Carolus Linnaeus is how he changed it. I would know that. The plant cell. Do y'all remember that giant plant cell where we had to go through? It was on a quiz before too. Y'all have had it so many times, and they show this huge vacuole, and you've got organelles in front of it, behind it, you've got the weird mitochondria, you got all kind of stuff. Look at that. Some of those you might have to label, not all of them. So a lot of this is just kind of a brief history of what we've done this semester and just hitting on a few things. So if you don't know every single one of those organelles, it's okay. Every single one is not going to be on there. When it comes to fungus, when a fungus spore lands, what does it grow into? I know that's like a sperm, but it's not. Hyphae, right? All right, so only Gracie knows that. That's cool. So we have a hypha or hyphae, and then a wad of it, when it really gets going and makes a bunch of itself, what's that called?
Mycelium.
That you'll know. Okay, yes, mycelium. The mycelium, when it meets up with a different strand, what can happen? We have sexy time, right? It looks like my 4-year-old was up here drawing. So yes, we have sexy time. When they come together, depending on what phyla it is, they're gonna create a fruiting body, right? And that name of fruiting body, that's the throwback of, yeah, it was a plant. We know now, no, it's not a plant, but it kind of has those same names too. It's a fruiting body. It's making more of itself. So if you looked like, I don't know why I keep walking over here when all my stuff's over here. I'll get it right eventually. So if you look like, I guess we'll go in order. So if you've met down here together, here's your plate of spaghetti, and you're meeting up together, maybe you're zigzagging, whatever. What is that thing?
Zygote.
Yep. So this is going to be your zygospore, and it sends up that specialized hyphae, and what does it throw out? A lot of spores, right? What phylum is this? Zygomycota. If you write X, Zygomycota, that is fine. It is being chopped up as we speak. They don't have a name for it yet. So either way, whether you call it X or you just straight up call it Zygomycota, either way, it's gonna be fine for my purposes. I think on your practical, sorry, I keep saying practical. On your final, I may not use the X in it. It might just say Zygomycota, but just know, right now it's such an up in the air thing that it's okay. Doesn't have to be X. Eventually we'll have a name, hopefully. All right, so what if when the two of you meet up, you form, you form this weird looking thing, or this weird looking thing. These are all different types of sac fungus. Sometimes it's the cup fungus, and they kind of look like these little cups. So what phylum is this? Oh, y'all make me so proud. Are y'all all taking mycology next semester?
No.
Heard like 8 no. That's a hard no. Okay. Say what?
I'm taking a microbiology if that counts.
No, it doesn't.
So what do you call that fruiting body?
Ascocarp.
Ascocarp. What do you call this stuff?
Ascus.
The ascus sounds like kiss ass. Ascus, yes. And so I call them rolls of quarters. And what's on the inside? 5, 6, 7. How many?
8.
Why? Because they what?
Meiosis.
All right. So we had meiosis followed by mitosis. They're overachievers. All right, and then lastly, if you have your plates of spaghetti coming together, all your positive and negatives, you got a bunch of them coming together, and they're going to create this very phallic looking thing. Oh my gosh, it gets worse every time I draw it. What is this? It's a basidiomycete, so it's part of phylum Basidiomycota. And what's the name for this? That's supposed to be mushroom. What's the name of that officially? Yep, Basidiocarp. What's these things? Gills. Or they could have spores. All right, if we were to look on the inside and we blew up the gills, they look like that. They have these weird structures that look like a club, hence the name club fungus. And what do we call those structures? Basidia. And each one has 1, 2, 3, 4 basidiospores. Yes.
Is there by any chance you might throw in the black bread mold parts?
Nope.
Oh.
All right, said that. So y'all would know if there's things that are listed, the difference between a sexual part versus asexual, right? So what if I had the word ascospores? What would you say? Sexual. What if it said basidia? What if it said spores? All right, gotcha. Could be both, right? Unless I differentiate and call them something fancy. Spores by itself, we don't know. Could be either. Could be sexual or asexual. But what if I called them conidiospores?
Asexual.
That would be asexual, because what does conidia look like? You remember these things?
Like a little trident or?
Yep. Oh no, this is bringing back nightmares. Yes, so that is a product of asexual reproduction, the conidia. So if you want to call these special spores conidia spores, then yes, that would all be asexual. All right. Know the structure of a leaf and be able to label the parts. I know we just kind of jumped. This is kind of jumbled up. When I say know the parts, when you have a leaf like this, know what is the name for this specialized, huge vascular vein that runs in the middle? What is that called?
Midrib.
The midrib. What's the outside edge called?
The margin.
Margin. Ooh, what's this thing called?
The petiole.
Yep, the petiole. My friend had a bunch of these cut the other day, and she's like, "All right, I'm trying to propagate. I got my growing hormone. Where did I cut him?" I said, "Just cut the halfway." I said, "Cut the petiole halfway." And she's like, she had a FaceTime me. She started to cut this way. I was like, "No, oh my God, what are you doing?" She's just cutting up the midrib, and she's like, "You know, I don't remember all my botanical knowledge." I said, "Definitely turn your scissors the other way." So she didn't know what petiole was. I'm doing a bad job as a friend. All right, so know how. This is jumping back. But how do fungi find each other? Those hormones, they're everywhere. What do you call a fungus and a root that live together, all coiled up in happiness? The mycorrhizae, right? So that's a good, what'd you say?
I said lichen, that's algae.
Myco, what?
I said lichen, that's algae.
We're getting there. You're a step ahead of me. You knew I was going next. Very well. Very good. And that's literally the next thing I have on here. Interesting. So know the three main types of lichens that we talked about. So what are they?
Folios.
Fruticose, folios, and crustose. See how I make y'all remember all the things so you don't forget? Know the chloroplast picture. We've seen that a couple of times where you see it's just that green blob, and you have it looks like the Oreo cookies that are all stacked up that I keep talking about. And then I didn't draw a space for them, but they have space in between to connect the Oreo cookies. They'll have some here. Looks really crappy. But what is one Oreo? What do you call one Oreo?
Thylakoid.
The thylakoid. A stack of Oreos are thylakoids. The granum, right? Grana or granum, singular, plural, whichever. It's fine. As long as you're finding the right one. Good thing it's multiple choice, right? Or guess. You didn't study, right? It's always multiple
Well,
guess.
the thylakoid lumen.
So that will have.
Yeah, so they'll have, there's the thylakoid lumen, bloop, bloop, right there.
So you're saying that will have a word bank?
Yes, the only thing you're gonna have to like write in, there's one thing at the end, and then the alternation of generations is all y'all. All y'all. All right. Alteration generations, we know that. Know the four phyla of gymnosperms. Oh crap, what are they?
Cycadophyta?
Cycadophyta or Cycadophyta if you want to sound fancy.
Phyta. Coniferophyta.
Coniferophyta or Coniferophyta,
Needophyta.
Ginkgophyta, and then Needophyta. The weird one that starts with the G. Needophyta, y'all remember those? We never saw Needophyta, we just saw pictures of them. But what's an example of somebody that's in the phylum Ginkgophyta?
And ginkgo biloba.
Literally just Ginkgo biloba. What about Coniferophyta or Coniferophyta? That's
Pinus.
pine trees, right? Pinus, junipers, all of those. What's the other one? Cycadophyta or Cycadophyta? Cycads, right? Or the Stangopalms, which we know that's not bad common name.
Are we gonna have to know pictures for those?
Nope. I just printed them off yesterday. That's how come I'm like going back in my head like, nope. So it's fresh on my brain. Let's see if y'all remember this one. So when it comes to the gametophytes, what is the male gametophyte, aka the microgametophyte? What is it? Very simple terms. It's the pollen grain. Know that. Didn't we talk about that all semester when we talked about dipsperms. All right, so what about the female gametophyte? That's your IHOP order, right? Your 2 Archegonia with eggs. She is the female gametophyte. Know that.
Will you be
Faux show.
putting those like
Yes, those
Things.
nightmare ones that I made. Yep, they're gonna be on there too. Y'all remember all the circles that I made where it's like has the cute little microspore tetrads and all that? Look at
I
those.
forget.
Don't
So
forget those.
Are you doing
How
that
could I ever
for?
forget this?
Are you doing that for all?
You don't have to do every single one. I think I picked like 3 from the girl and 2 from the boy or something.
But I mean, like angiosperms or for?
Both.
Okay.
You're welcome. Yep, for both of them. See all the drawings that I did for the gymnosperms and the angiosperms? I'm going to ask you a few questions from those. So you don't have to memorize every single one, but definitely look over those. If you still don't know it, I will help you out. Remind me at the end. No, the 3 F's of angiosperms. What are the 3 F's?
Double fertilization.
Double fertilization, fruit, and flowers. All in a weird order, but yes, those are all the F's. It's double fertilization. Who gets fertilized? An egg. And the polar nuclei, right? When the egg combines with the sperm, what does it make? The zygote, right? It's eventually going to be the seed. And then what are the polar nuclei and that other sperm nuclei? What do they make?
Endosperm.
Endosperm. So sexy. Look, I'm glad that y'all know that. And what does that do? What's it for?
Food for the baby.
The baby in the box with its food? That's the food, right? That's what it's using. What is the palisade parenchyma?
Where photosynthesis occurs.
Yes, where photosynthesis occurs. That layer that's at the top. And if you're in the sun, you're prone to have more than one layer, right? Y'all remember that? The sun ones are going to have 2 layers of palisade parenchymas. What else was I on? Chlorophyll. You know there's more than one chlorophyll, right? There's A and B. There's other ones too, but we usually just talk about A and B. But there are other pigments, right? What are the other pigments?
Carotenoids.
Carotenoids or carotenoids, same difference. And then flavonols are not so much used for solar grabbing, but yes, they are used for coloration for other things. But the other ones would be anthocyanins. I just lost it. So like the purples and the reds and the blues. All the times you see that in fruit production. But
Did you say anthocyanins?
yes. Anthocyanins. Yes. And all of these chlorophyll A and chlorophyll B and the carotenoids, why do we have different pigments? What's their purpose? What are they doing?
Attracting pollinators.
You're thinking of from the flower, which yes, because that's
Oh,
going
you
to
mean
attract
for
different
the
pollinators.
for
Yeah,
sake of
I expected y'all to just
photosynthesis.
read my mind.
So-
Yes, on a leaf doing photosynthesis. And what were you saying?
To pick up different frequencies of light.
Because light, remember, does all the wiggle effects as those waves come in, and so different colors will absorb different wavelengths of light, and they also reflect different wavelengths of light. That's why if you wear a black shirt out in July, you're going to melt versus a white shirt. You'll still melt, but it won't be as bad. You won't feel as hot. That's like if I go out in the sun and someone touches the top of my head, I've almost burnt my hand on my head before because it's so dark. My daughter being blonde, it's like,
Been there.
she's fine. Hmm?
Been there, Roy Band.
Yeah, oh yeah. You don't realize how hot your hair can get. It can get pretty hot. All right, know what kind of goes on when we're talking about photosynthesis. Basically, where's the first place that light penetrates through? It's not PlayStation, but it's just fun to remember that.
Photos.
Photosystem 2. And then the electrons get split from water. The electrons go through the electron transport chain. Then there's PS1. And then we go, the electrons, well, they get moved out and go other places. But you have the hydrogen that's just kind of gathering, and it's going to go through ATP synthase, and that's what kind of snaps and makes ATP from ADP and phosphorus. So just barely go over that. It's not anything too in-depth. It's pretty much what happens here. What does the electron transport chain do? Those electrons. So it's anything too crazy. What is photorespiration? Do you remember that? It's very bad, yes. So that's what happens when you have that enzyme Rubusco that we talked about. So it accidentally binds to carbon dioxide instead of oxygen, and it just creates more and more carbon dioxide. So it's a very wasteful product. Know that there are different types of photosynthesis. The one we usually talk about is the C3, that's the normal carbon-3. C4 plants are going to be ones where their photosynthesis occurs in different cells, because we don't want to have photorespiration. We're trying to avoid that, so we do that by keeping them in separate cells. Versus the CAM ones, that's most of your succulents and cactus and things like that. They have their photosynthesis that they have, and some of it occurs at night and some of it occurs during the day. That's how much they hate photorespiration. They keep it in separate parts of the day. We mentioned the leaf, the margin, the midrib, the petiole, axillary buds. Sorry about that one. Compound leaf. What is the name when you have a compound? Do this one. A compound leaf. What are the names for these things? Because you can't call them leaves.
Leaflets.
Leaflets. And do you know the name for this structure right there that's holding them up? Rachis, yep. We talked about it, we just didn't harp on it too much. But rachis is the name of basically the stem that's there that's holding the leaflets together, because as you get down here, it has the same name, no matter if it's a simple leaf or compound leaf. What is the name of the stick that it's literally sticking to the main branch from? That's the petiole. So it's the same no matter what kind of a leaf you are. You only give a special name if there's leaflets for this section, because sometimes the rachis is winged. Winged sumac is like that. It's super cute, in that it has these little protrusions that come out in between these leaflets, and that's how you know is winged sumac and not poison sumac. Or you can be like me and just touch and go, wow, this is really pretty, look at all that red. It was poison sumac. Made that mistake once. Know a little bit about like that wood is secondary xylem. That's what wood is. The difference between loose and tight knots. This is stuff that we just went over. The fruit types, y'all remember the difference if they're have they accelerated ripening versus some that take their time or they need to remain on the tree. Remember we talked about that? Look at that one. So the climacteric are the ones that kind of ripen even if you take them off the tree. The non-climacteric are the ones that have to be attached to the mother tree or plant or whatever it is. Or if you pick them too early, they're really not going to reach their full potential and ripen. What affects transpiration? Wind currents.
Heat.
Humidity.
Temperature.
It's getting hot in here, right? Temperature. Anything else? Nothing else? For the most part, that's it. Oh, and then, yeah, is the stomata actually open or closed? That's going to affect it. If it's closed, we have no transpiration. Note the 3 pathways for plants when it comes to water in the xylem. You remember apoplastic and symplastic? That was something, I think we talked about that on Monday. Those 3 different pathways at 3 different colors because they go about it in a different way. Look at that. I put on here the last chapter is going to cover the rest. There are 80-something questions because they're all 1 point apiece. So, I mean, it's okay if you miss a few. It's not the end of the world. It's not going to make or break you. The very last question I'm going to tell you is that you're going to have, and this is the one advantage of being here today, you should draw. You're going to have to draw and then write out how a plant absorbs water. So basically, you're going to go from water being in the roots all the way out leaving through the leaf. So you're going to have to use words, and I wrote all these down so we can make sure you know it.
So like the last question or the last word?
This is the last question, only you're going to have to write it out. It's a short answer. Not an essay. I don't want to read them. I don't want to read all of these. I just want to read a couple of sentences. You have to write words like cohesion, adhesion, transpiration. What else did I put on there? What is cohesion? Like they're cohabitate. They're living together. You got water and water stuck together. What is adhesion? sticking to pretty much everything else, the cell walls as it's being shimmied up. So I have that, cohesion, adhesion, transpiration, actually use the word water. One year I got somebody, they didn't use, and I'll have these written out for you. I'll say, make sure you include these words. And someone at one point just talked about sugar, or they just didn't say what was being pushed up or pulled up or whatever. You can use the word pull, because we do use that a lot. And then if you want to use the word xylem, because that's how we're getting water from the roots up to the leaves. And then, yeah, we'll use the words, it's root to leaf. So you're basically just describing how water is being pulled up through a plant. So if we had to describe that, what would you say?
Did you want the word osmosis?
I can't remember if I put that on there or not. I didn't put it on my thing, but yeah, if you want to put, because osmosis is literally just the movement of water. A lot of y'all, if you notice on there, I made up a word. I put tomata. Did y'all see that on the quiz?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Don't listen, Emma. And so, somebody put tomata. But anyway, a few people did write diffusion. And diffusion is when you have other substances involved, not just water. But water itself is osmosis. So yes, you don't have to go into water potential unless you just really want to just talk about it. You can if you want to. But basically, osmosis is how water is drawn into, this looks like a hole fast, that looks horrible. It's fine. Water gets drawn into the roots, right? And it goes up the roots, right? So it goes drawn into the roots. It starts, and you can draw, we'll go all the way up here. This is going to be a sad looking tree. It's got one leaf on it because why not? I'm making it real simple. So as water gets moved up, how is it getting pulled up the branch or the stem? What are the processes that help it get pulled up?
Transpiration pulls it through the
Pretty much all of these, right?
Pulls it through.
So first of all, you've got cohesion and adhesion. Water wants to stick to itself. So it's sticking to itself. It's also sticking to the side of these thin little tubes, which is the xylem. So they're kind of just being pulled and pushed and kind of helping each other out as they're going all the way up. Meanwhile, this is all happening at the same time. Looks like I've got a growth on my thing. Let's get rid of that gall. Okay. So, meanwhile, and I may have put stomata on your list too. Because what's going on down here in these little holes that are on the underside of the leaf?
Transpiration.
Transpiration. What the hell is that?
Water.
Release of water. How are you losing water? Water through transpiration.
Evaporation.
Humidity, heat, wind, all of that. So think of like a kid taking the straw and as hard as you can in your can of Coke, pew, you're going to send some of it out spewing because enough of that water is going to make some of that drink come out. Well, the same thing, you have wind coming across here, heat, everything, it's going to make some of this water be gone, and that's transpiration. So as water gets pushed out and just kind of goes out into the atmosphere, it's all locked in and pulling on the next one. So all this water that's in this xylem starts to come out into the cells that are there. And then they keep just being pulled. Well, my buddy's coming and we're all going to hold hands and then, they're out in the leaf. Don't write that. But that's basically what happens. So it's hard to explain that, and that's why I'm telling y'all ahead of time. So the people that aren't here today are going to be real messed up. They're going to be like, what am I doing? So, and I do have something else. I think that's the main thing.
How many points is that?
Any questions? I think it's like 8. I think there was like 8 words. And as long as you include those words somewhere, don't just write like water, cohesion, adhesion, like tension. It's gonna be like, no, because I am going to read them. But if you have something written like this, it's like, I'm gonna save yours for last. But any questions? Yes?
Do we need to worry about ferns?
Yeah, I was going to ask the exact same
We
question.
forget poor ferns. We forgot them on the practical. I forgot them on the poor ferns.
Tell me, we did not forget them on the practical.
Yeah, no, you had sore eyes.
Oh, that's right, I did. What did we forget?
That's
on
what I
the practical?
complained
There was
about.
something else we forgot. Oh, it wasn't on the study guide.
Yeah.
That's what it was. I remember.
So
that
I'm
last
asking
time.
now.
No, I didn't ask anything about ferns. Mostly the angiosperms, the gymnosperms, generations. All right. Are y'all
Did
ready?
you do anything for mosses or anything?
Are we ready?
Nope.
Okay.
So because you showed up today, you get an index card. You get to pick which side, because we can't use both. Because some people want to write on the plane, some people want to write on the lines. And this is your cheat sheet. You can write whatever the